Okay, so the first thing that I did in the coil hand building technique, because I'm going to make a vessel out of coils the whole time, I took the top part of the clay and I took the wire and I cut it into pieces so that they would be strips, and then I cut that off so that I have strips like this of clay, okay? Because this is a good way to start. So I'm going to take these, the ones that I'm not using, and I'm going to lay them over here first, and I'm going to take the big one, or one of them, and I'm going to kind of smush it into a coil shape to start with, okay? Then I'm going to come over here. I might have to cut it in half because the board might not be big enough. But the first thing I'm going to do is kind of make it into a coil shape. Make sure the clay is nice and moist. If it's dry, it won't work. It'll fall apart. So the first thing that you do when you're making a coil is you have to use your whole hand. You have to go from fingers all the way to the end of your hand. You cannot roll a coil with just your fingers because then it'll get real flat. So you want to start in the middle and add a little bit of pressure and then go to the outside and then go to the other outside. So I'm going to start like that with my whole hand, and then I'm going to go to the outside. And then I'm going to go back to the middle and I'm going to kind of stretch it to the outside. Okay, so since I cut this clay off of the top of the block, I'm pretty sure that there are no air pockets in it, because you can get air pockets inside of a coil, and that's a lot of work that would go down the drain if that were true. Okay, so I'm going to first roll my coil, and I'm going to use what's called the blending technique. I want to make sure that the coil is a pretty even consistency all the way through. I'm going to start with one end right here, and I'm going to make the base, and then I'm going to think about the shape as it's coming up. So I'm just going to start rolling it like this. I'm not going to score and slip because I'm going to use the blending technique. Okay, I would say that's probably good enough for the bottom, the distance of the bottom, because you want the foot of your base to be a little bit smaller than the body of the base to give it sort of a visual lift. Then all I'm going to do is take one coil and I'm going to blend that coil into the next coil. As long as the clay is in the plastic state, this will work just fine. So you won't have to score and slip. And then because I want my Native American base to be smooth on the outside, I'm going to do the blending on the outside. So once I want to start to go up, make sure this is nice and round, okay? Then I just start taking the coils and laying them on top like this, okay? So I'm just going to set that aside. I'm going to take another one of my pre-cut pieces of clay that are covered up in plastic because you want to make sure that they stay nice and moist. You don't want them to dry out as you're working, okay? So I'm just going to take this, make it as much into a cylinder as I can. Do you want to give it a shot? Okay, so I'm going to start in the middle. Okay, I'm going to show you what to do if it does, like if you do roll the coil and it ends up being flat and it makes this noise, okay? So all you have to do is take it and kind of press it down, but then you know that you're not using your entire hand, which is so important. So then, all I have to do here is take this, put it right to where the next one goes, and try to make sure that they're the same thickness again, because you don't want to have a little divot there. But if you do, it's okay too. It's a pretty forgiving technique. So I'm going to come up and I'm going to start to go out a little bit, almost like making a basket, okay? So as I start to go out, I'm thinking about my shape and the form, making sure that it's round. Then I'm going to blend a little bit on the inside, this first one, like this, okay? Then as I go up, I'm going to blend on the outside because I want this to be nice and smooth. So I'm going to take I'm gonna take my coils and blend them together very carefully, okay, all the way around, okay. Smooth them up. You could even take a sponge. Now, as you're going, and you're going to continue to go up and then maybe go back in, and you can add 2 coils for the spouts and things like this. But as you go up, first thing that I have to tell you is don't make coils very small. Always make them about the size of your thumb, okay? Because if they're too small, it's going to be too hard to blend. You won't have enough clay to push into the next coil. The next thing that you need to realize is that as you go up, since you're working with plastic clay, the weight of the vase will crush. This will collapse because it's in the plastic state and it doesn't have enough firmness to hold the clay as you go up. So you should only go up about maybe 3 inches, okay? And then you should maybe hit it with the blow dryer if you have time in class to go up even farther, okay? Just the bottom edge. Leave the top one moist because remember, you want to combine plastic to plastic, not plastic to leather hard, okay? And then as you go up, this becomes leather hard because you're going to dry it a little bit, and it will have the strength to hold the clay as you work. At the end of the day, let's say you get up this high, what you want to do is you want to, when you cover the vase, okay, you cover the vase, it's a good idea to cover the top part of it, but to leave the bottom part exposed, because it's okay to allow that bottom part to dry out so that it has the stiffness and the firmness to hold the clay vase as it goes up. And are there any questions? Okay, thank you.